What's going on, champs and champettes? It's FireMonkey here, and one question I get asked about, because I did report on this existing before Fortnite OG originally released, was when are we getting Fortnite OG bot lobbies? It was something that was in the files, and it's still in the files to this day, that people really wanted because, you know, maybe they enjoyed their normal Fortnite bot lobby grind, but they wanted to do it on the OG map, do some of the OG quests, or whatever else it might be. However, if you try using a secondary account or whatever else to try getting into bot lobbies, you might get into like more bot-filled lobbies than what is normal for that mode, but you're not going to get an entirely bot mode only due to the fact that it just never actually puts new accounts into the Fortnite OG bot lobby playlist. However, this doesn't mean that it's never going to happen, because if it wasn't going to happen or we didn't have any updates on it, there wouldn't really be a reason to make this video right here. So what can I tell you about Fortnite bot lobbies in Fortnite OG and what might be happening in the future? Well, with one of the updates we got previously, I think it was towards the start of the season or towards the end of last season, they added some new files relating to a casual mode for Fortnite OG. It looks to be a Fortnite OG bot lobby mode, however in a very odd way. What I mean by this is that instead of being able to queue up with a squad of 4, you would be able to have essentially 3 different teams in your party queued up at the same time that you would be able to fight against, but everyone in that entire party would be able to go ahead and fight bots as well. So basically it would be your own way to have your own version of Team Rumble, for example, but in Fortnite OG and with the only other enemies being bots. Now, in terms of how it would work past this, it is pretty unknown. They have, you know, added some files here and there for it. It appears that it would only be a squads mode, so, you know, you would be able to queue into it by yourself if you really wanted to, but it would only be made for essentially, you know, having the whole entire big matchmaking thing enabled, and I assume the reason for that is because they would, if they were to make, you know, a whole entire public bot lobby mode that anyone could queue into, they would want to go ahead and make it so that people would be able to find it in Discovery and not have to go to the bot lobby mode and select between solos, duos, trios, squad, or any of that thing. So just making it so that you can queue in as long as you're, you know, in the game, regardless of if you have a full party or not, and you would still get bot lobbies just depending on how many other people are in your match, is definitely an interesting concept that we haven't seen them play with before. Now, some people might think, oh, but Epic Games doesn't want to do public bot lobbies or anything like that, and while you're somewhat right, at the exact same time, you're somewhat wrong, because back when bots were first being announced to be added to Fortnite, not the ones that just, you know, cranked 90s internally all the time, but the ones that were actually in your games, Epic Games stated that they were looking into bot modes so that you would be able to have like player versus bot or whatever else as a core selectable thing in the game, similar to how other games like maybe Naraka Blade Point actually has it involved. For people who don't know, in that game you literally have bot playlists that you're able to queue into, and a lot of the quests are still completable. You still earn XP and everything. The only thing you don't progress is like your rank, you know, so you wouldn't be able to go from like bronze rank to the higher ones or whatever else in Naraka Blade Point. And that was the type of system that we could all see working over in Fortnite. Just, you know, something that makes it so, hey, you know, you are able to actually go ahead and play this mode, but you're not able to go ahead and, you know, progress like ranked quests or anything like that. You're not able to get a competitive advantage. We already know that this system is in place in Fortnite by disabling stuff like Crown Victory Royales, except if you're doing bot lobby solos, because that shouldn't really be possible using any popular method or anything like that. So it is something that they already have protections in place for, but they've never made it into a fully blown mode that anyone can just casually queue into on, you know, a Sunday night or whatever else to play it with some friends. And that is where this brand new casual mode for Fortnite OG is set to come into place. It is literally just your way to queue into a bot lobby with your friends of up to, you know, a whole entire lobby of, I think, like either either like 12 to 16 players. I forget which one it is, but it is in the, you know, the double digit area, and you would be able to go ahead and just compete against your friends while also competing against bots for some easy eliminations and everything else. When looking into it in its early state, it does appear that everything they've got going on with it seems to be set up properly, right? You know, in terms of XP, it seems to be the normal XP gain, seems to be the proper loot pool, for example, so we wouldn't have an issue like Team Rumble where you don't get the right loot pool and you'll have things that shouldn't be enabled being enabled anyways, and stuff like that. And of course, with stuff like OG 50v50 zero build being in the game right now, it definitely shows that they've already gotten their loot pool issues fixed out. But in terms of if it will actually release, that is currently unknown. There are a lot of times in the past when we've reported on Epic Games adding a playlist to the game files and then just not releasing it. For example, in the exact same updates that actually added this casual mode to Fortnite OG, they also added a brand new version of Close Encounters, the LTM, where, you know, it was basically just a lot of, I think it was a lot of shotguns and jetpacks, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head. And that used to be one of the LTMs back in the day that was only here for like one day, got vaulted, got returned for like one day, got vaulted again, and it was like the rarest LTM back then. But they have been working on a version of Close Encounters for Fortnite OG, has its own ID and everything that they could 100% use for a special limited time mode or whatever, maybe having some quest or whatever else. But considering both of these got added at the exact same time, that does mean that there is a high likelihood that we could be seeing them, and, you know, they could be releasing, assuming Epic Games doesn't scrap any of their plans. However, if it does end up releasing, due to the fact that Close Encounters is also there, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being like a limited time only thing. Something where you would only be able to play it for like a week, maybe a month or something before it gets vaulted once again, as their way of just gauging interest in it. And if, you know, a lot of people queue into Fortnite OG casual mode in order to get some quick wins or whatever it might be, maybe they would go ahead and make it a permanent mode past that. But it is something that they are working on in the files, and they've been working on since before the start of the summer update, so it is something to keep your eyes out for. And if you're someone who likes playing bot lobbies and you don't want to always have like a phone on the side of your monitor or Xbox cloud gaming or whatever you might be using in order to get those lobbies, then this could be a really solid alternative if it does end up releasing, even if it was just for a limited time, because it means that you would be able to go ahead and queue into a form of a bot mode. You know, of course, it wouldn't be true bot lobbies as we've always had them for months now due to the party sizes and everything else, and get a little bit more enjoyment out of it while it's still here. With that said, however, hope you champs and champions enjoyed today's YouTube video. Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't like it, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow with another upload. So until then, peace out.